I trained in Ireland, but my first job was in Canada. A friend of mine was leaving the job. He'd had the same training, and I stepped right into his shoes. And my work was half of it's diagnostic work on severe psychiatric patients. The other half was with children. And a lot of the children were sent to me with a referral from a pediatrician or a family physician say, Pat, would you have a look at this kid? I know it's not medical. I think it's psychological. That was the typical referral. By the third year, it took me about 3 years to learn this. By the third year, I wouldn't see the kid. I could see the whole family. Mom and dad, this was in the early 70s. Most families were still intact. Mom and dad had come in, and the kids. And I'd keep the focus off the kid that was the so-called patient, keep it on the family. And after 3, 4, 5, 6 sessions, normally 5 or 6, I'd have figured out where the strains were in the marriage. And I'd say to the parents, let's leave the kids at home next week. They do that, and then I start working on the marriage, getting it closer. I went back afterwards looking through all my files. Of the 30 kids, 28, I didn't have to do a thing with them. The symptoms disappear when the marriage was healed. That was the foundational experience of the rest of my career right up to today. And you can hear a lot of it in what has gone on in the course. It's so foundational. The primary relationship in all societies is the primary relationship in the family, which is the marriage. Out of the marriage comes the child. And later, I began to realize, as I analyzed actually, I was in public policy. I've been Deputy Assistant Secretary for the whole nation on family and community policy, know the research, all the rest. Later, I was analyzing UN treaties that we've signed. And 2 of the big social UN treaties are not perfect, and there's a bit of troublesome stuff in there. But then I realized, wait now, if they had, and this is the dawning of a new insight, if they had the child's right to the marriage of his father and mother, not that you could always enforce that right, but if that was in there, they'd be perfect. Every child, from the moment of conception, if they could speak, imagine this. It could rightfully say, Dad, you father, mother, you just brought me into existence. I had nothing to do with coming into existence. You both had everything to do with it. For me to become the adult I'm capable of becoming, I need your marriage. Without it, I'm not going to become the adult I'm capable of becoming. I have a right, no matter where or when I was born. All children, through all of creation, could say that to their parents, the biological parents. And I think this is one of the most fundamental ideas to get out there. Imagine if when you're talking to a teenage boy or a teenage daughter, they're fertile, they're now, they've gone through puberty, 14, 15, capable, and pity, a number of them jump the ropes and the baby's born out of wedlock. Or worse still, the baby is aborted. But if teenagers knew this and it was articulated, I think most of them would say, yeah, that makes sense. I think almost everybody, that makes sense. The little fetus saying, you and you, I need your marriage. I didn't ask to come into existence. You brought me into existence. Now you owe me. I think that would have a profound effect on how teenagers conduct themselves sexually if they're aware of that. It's not going to take care of everything, but it's a very important part actually, and it brings right into focus for them that the whole purpose of the male and female body coming together for the pleasure, for the joy, for all the good things, is ultimately the baby and the next generation of human beings.